Hey guys, welcome to Daniel Gian Talk, and today I'll be reviewing the 2019 film Game Over, directed by Ashwin Sadhavan, starring Taapsee Pannu. I recently saw her in Badla, and apparently this is her welcome back film after a few years absence from the Tamil film industry, because this is a multilingual film. It's a horror film, and I'm just gonna get right into it. First things first, I gotta say thank you to Mr. Anurag Kashyap. This is the second film of the year that I've seen because of his recommendations via Twitter. The first being Super Deluxe, which is still my favorite film of 2019. Period. Regardless if it's American or not, Super Deluxe is my favorite film, and that's better than Avengers and everything else that I really did love this year. But let's get into this film. This movie starts off with the handicap shot, very reminiscent of the original Halloween. That's the 1978 John Carpenter film, where if you're not familiar with that film also starts with a POV shot of the killer, where you hear him breathing and he's stalking his prey.
Let's go upstairs.
Okay.
That's one of the best moments in that movie, the original Halloween, because you follow this long tracking shot as the killer goes from the outside to the inside and he eventually kills. Then it reveals that the person who's killing these people is actually a child, and you're like, oh shit. There's this genuine moment of shock and awe.
Michael?
This movie doesn't really do that per se, but it definitely ends the scene with shock and awe. The person that he's stalking, you find out more about later, but initially you don't know anything about this young girl. I mean, it starts off, she goes and she's getting some sort of food delivery service. She's watching her movies, eating her food, sleeping and showering. You're seeing all these moments. I thought of Psycho, the 1960 film by Alfred Hitchcock, when she's showering and you just see her silhouette and you hear him breathing on this video camera. It's really creepy. And it ultimately ends with her dying via suffocation, and they put the plastic bag over her head, and she, which is scary in and of itself. I mean, the fact that she's tied, her arms are tied behind her back, she can't do anything but die. And then she gets beheaded and burned alive, and then her head gets kicked through the soccer goal post, and then the movie starts. I just want to address one thing about the opening that I didn't like, that ultimately did get resolved at the end. And at first, you thought it was just one person, and there's like zooming in and out, and I'm like, okay, it's one guy, like this is just weird. And then they get to the soccer field, or the football field, whatever you want to call it, and there's a weird camera perspective change where you actually get to see things that wouldn't be traditional POV, and I thought, man, that's very off-putting. That doesn't seem right. Like, it broke the element of here's one guy recording all the events, and then you find out later there's actually three of them. So it actually made this early complaint not even a complaint at all. And I know for a lot of people out there, that might have went over your head and maybe not even paid attention to it at all, but I'm a filmmaker, so sometimes things like that stick out to me. But I'm actually really glad that that got resolved later on. But from there, the movie turns into something else. I mean, it kind of forgets about the slasher horror element of the movie and becomes more about dealing with post-traumatic stress. Taapsee's dealing with some serious baggage. She was sexually assaulted a year prior at New Year's Eve. People were filming it and it went viral, and you know, there's a lot of shame involved with that, and just there's a lot of things involved more than just shame. I mean, there's the literal trauma. I mean, she can't be in dark rooms anymore. I mean, the film went this direction and I wasn't expecting it all. I mean, usually for horror films, you do have a character who is flawed to some degree, and then ultimately they, through the narrative of the film, they conquer the evil. And this film does that. And the reason why it works, in my opinion, is because it does spend the first half of the film detailing that trauma. Her interactions with Kamala were great. It felt very real, very natural. A little shallow, I'd say, because based on the trailer, I was expecting more video game elements to be incorporated. I mean, at the very beginning, you hear her on the phone saying like, oh, are these level designs gonna be done by this date and X, Y, or Z? And then she goes to the psychiatrist and they're playing this VR thing. And so I was expecting the video games to be a little bit more incorporated over with the overall narrative. And so as a result, when that kind of didn't happen, I was a little bit disappointed, I can't lie. But maybe that was just my own projections. Maybe that's just what I wanted out of it. But overall, I was really just drawn into the narrative. I mean, I liked how it unfolded. I liked the idea, the concept of the tattoo being ingrained in her skin, you know, because they put the ashes in the tattoo ink. That's an idea that when you see it on screen, you're like, fuck, why didn't I think of that idea? It's so smart. It's such a brilliant foundation for what's to come. And so for that, you know, hats off, because it's something that's very simplistic, but also very real. Just something that you can believe, and then you could, if you're just remotely, you put these hints of supernatural elements into it, of course you can believe it and buy it. And I enjoyed the twist that the girl in the beginning was a cancer survivor, and you know, I didn't necessarily care for the moment when the mother came to visit Taapsee. It was a little off after she attempted suicide, but what I did enjoy was the Confucius quote that she wrote on the card, where it was, you know, everyone thinks they have one life until they realize that they only have one life, or something like that. You have two lives, and one of them ends the moment you realize you only have one, or something like that. And that was something that really hit me, because it's true. People take for granted their life all the time, and you know, you only have one. And then after the first half, we cut into the second half, literally highlighted by a title card that says "Game On." Now, when I saw that in most movies, if this wasn't an Indian film and it did that title card, I'd be like, oh my God, what is this? This is dumb. Because I know it's an Indian film, because I know Indian films are made in two parts, and that the first part might not be exactly the same as the second part, I went with it. And I knew that the moment it said "Game On," here we go. Now the killer's gonna come back, and now is the fun and games are really gonna begin. And they sure enough really did come, because I wasn't expecting the Groundhog Day twist. I wasn't expecting her tattoo to be 3 lives, and that's not really explained, and I went with it. I could see how that can put off some people because they don't really explain that aspect. But I just went along with it, and I had fun. You know, at first, I didn't know right away that those were lives. I had the assumption because the fact that 2 more tattoos appeared out of nowhere. Ding, 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 it's a movie about video games. I mean, she's playing video games the whole time. You know, I kind of assumed that was what's gonna happen. And then when Kamala got killed, and then you see Taapsee get decapitated, you're like, oh fuck, that was crazy. Like, they went there. They actually, that's the thing I enjoyed the most about this movie. The movie had balls to do things. It had balls to have Taapsee jump off a roof onto a car and try to kill herself, try to cut herself, try to hang herself. You literally see her get decapitated at the end of the movie, with the friend also getting decapitated on the swing set. I mean, there is moments there that I was like, wow, the movie's gone deep. It went dark. And so I appreciated that. And then the second life was also fun, because now the cop comes and the cop takes out the killer real easy, and you're like, oh, everything's good and smooth. But it just felt weird. I'm like, this can't be the ending. She still has 2 more lives left. And then she's being taken away, and then that's when you find out, like, the car blows up, and that's when you find out that there's 3 killers, and you're like, oh, dude, this is gonna be badass. I was actually really rooting for our heroine, just because I wanted her to succeed. I just wanted it. When Kamala burned the first dude alive with the fire, I was cheering. I was excited. That doesn't happen to me for movies, because it was at that point that the movie fully embraced the absurdities of itself. And absurdity is not the best word, because what I was watching wasn't bad. Only in a movie can you see stuff like this, and that's kind of what makes me happy to go watch movies like this. And it was nice and it was refreshing. It was a little convenient how she kind of stabbed him at the end, because I was really wishing something more interesting would happen. But at the end of the day, she conquered her fear. And I enjoyed the fact that it ends with her with the fireworks going off. She survived the night, she survived the new year. It was just a nice little touch. The only thing I would have done personally is I would have had Kamala come in and lay right next to her so they could both kind of just sit there and have the fireworks go off in the background. But I understand why that didn't happen, because it's not her movie. It's Taapsee's film. She's the one who overcame the obstacles, and by the end of the movie she did. I'd rate this one a solid 7 out of 10. I really don't want to rate this film because I just had a good time. It's unfortunate that the movies were being, canceled all over India and things like that. I just wish more people would give this film a chance, that's all. Because it's refreshing, it's different, it's not what you'd normally see in the Cineplexes. So, if anything, give it a shot when it comes out on DVD. And yeah, I look forward to see what the filmmakers have to do next. If you guys agreed with what I had to say or didn't agree with what I had to say, let me know in the comments below. I'm looking forward to reading that. If you did see the film, what did you guys think about the movie? At the end of the day, it's a movie. Some people are gonna like them, some people are not. I happen to be one of the people that like this one. But anyway guys, with that, that'll do it. We'll see you on the next one.